Hi, I'm Lori. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to review the Silhouette Cameo 3 versus the Cricust Explore 2. They are the newest machines by both Cricut and Silhouette. I have previously reviewed the Cameo 1 and 2 and the Cricust Explore Air, Cricust Explore 1 and other reviews. So if you're looking for either of those or any of those, you can look in the description below this video and I will have those linked there. Just a little bit about me. I think when you watch a review, it's kind of important to know a little bit about the person that's doing the review, because if they say it's very user-friendly and they're a graphic designer, then that might skew the opinion a little bit. But I do consider myself an advanced user of digital die cutting machines. I've owned several. I have the Brother Scan and Cut. I have had all the Cameos. I've owned all the Cricuts. So I do consider myself well-versed in digital die cutting machines. I used to teach Silhouette tutorials, so I feel like I know the design studio pretty well by Silhouette, and I know Cricut Design Space really well, and I'm also a beta tester for Cricut Design Space. I'm also pretty well versed in graphic software such as Photoshop, Illustrator, Sure Cuts a Lot, Inkscape. So that stuff comes pretty easy to me. What's new with the new machines? Cricut, pretty much, I think most of their improvements have been behind the scenes, and they are constantly upgrading and improving the software and the engine behind what makes everything run. They didn't really change the design of the Cricust Explore Air all that much. However, they did introduce a fast mode for the paper through, I believe, bonded fabric settings. So paper, vinyl, bonded fabric. You now have a fast mode, which is 2 times faster than it was previously. Silhouette did a big change to their machine from the Cameo 2 to the Cameo 3. Basically, they made it look like the Cricut. They added the dual heads like the Cricut. They have redesigned it with a fold over dust cover, just like the Cricut. And they added some onboard storage, just like the Cricut. So basically they've redesigned their machine and it looks a lot like the Cricust Explore. However, I don't think it's quite as sturdy as a machine or well built as the Explorer, but we'll get into that later. If you're here, you are either considering upgrading your machine, switching machines, or maybe purchasing your first one. So a few things I think that you should take into consideration when you're going to make that decision is, how are you going to use the machine? Are you going to be cutting paper? Are you going to be cutting fun foam? Are you going to be cutting mylar, acetate? Do you want the ability to cut all of those things? How comfortable are you with your computer and software? Silhouette has a much bigger learning curve to the software, and if you're not familiar with graphic terms such as compound paths, text on a path, things such as that, it's going to have a much higher node editing. It's going to have a much bigger learning curve than Cricut Design Space. So if you're not very comfortable with the computer, I would totally recommend Cricut Design Space. Another factor is going to be price point. We'll cover that a little bit later in the video. And then, you just need to decide what's most important to you when you purchase a machine. For me, I just want my digital die cutter to cut the best that it can cut, and I want it to cut everything that I need it to cut. So I can design in almost any software and save it as an SVG and open it. But I need my machine to cut and to cut well. So with that being said, I've cut a lot of different materials, and I'm going to jump right into the comparisons and let you see the results. Our first cut is American Crafts cardstock. I would say these cuts are equally precise and cut equally well. I didn't have any problem with either one. I did notice that the Silhouette cut the doily a little under 3 inches, which is what I had told it to cut, and the Cricut did cut it right at 3 inches. Next up, we have heat transfer vinyl, and again, I don't see any difference in the cuts. They both look great. They were both cut at the same size using the same font, and I wouldn't complain about either one of them. Next up was the glitter cardstock. This is the smooth glitter die cut with a view glitter cardstock, and again, I laid these on top of each other and I really could not find any difference at all. I would say these cut equally well. Next up is Fun Foam. I will say the Cricut Explorer seemed to cut this just a little bit better. You can see it's a little bit more precise. The Fun Foam seemed to be getting mooshed around a little bit by the Cameo. Next up was a piece of light leather that I had, and I put this on a white background just so that you could see it better. Again, a little bit of detail was lost by the Cameo. It seemed to push it around on the mat a little bit, smoosh it out, but it did cut out cleanly on the edges. Next up we have the Graphics Point 007 acetate. This one surprised me. The last time I compared the Cricut Explore 1 with the Silhouette Cameo 2, the Cameo was not able to cut this. It did cut it this time. It had no problem cutting it. I used a speed of 5, a thickness of 33, a blade of 4, and double cut. And it cut it fine. The Cricut also cut it equally well, and I used a custom setting on the Cricut of a pressure of 360 and a 4-time cut and both cut with the regular blade. Now this is where the Cricut really starts to shine. This is a Basel 0.020 inch acrylic piece of plastic. It's a very hard plastic. It really doesn't bend much at all. The Cricut Explorer was able to cut it. I used a custom setting of a pressure of 340 with a 7-time multi-cut. The Silhouette Cameo, it engraved on the top of it. It didn't cut through whatsoever on the back side. I used the new deep blade at 20 with a double cut and a pressure of 33, which is the highest pressure you can use on the Silhouette Cameo. I did crack it slightly on the Explorer 2, getting it out of the negative, and I do think that was user error. I was being pretty rough with it. But it did cut it, and it is a pretty acceptable cut. Again, you're going to see here the Cricut stands out when it comes to cutting thicker materials. This is a chipboard that I measured with my caliber at 0.033, so it is even thicker than the Basel that we cut in the previous screen. The Explorer cut it out. I used a custom setting with a pressure of 340 and a 7-time multi-cut. The Cameo, I use the new deep blade, and I use the same settings as the Basel, which is the deepest blade and the most pressure that the Cameo allows. I used a blade of 20, double cut, and a 33 pressure. The Cameo, you can see here on the back side, didn't even make a dent into the back of the chipboard. Okay, so just a quick summary on the cutting of the images. I was pleasantly surprised to see that the Cameo has improved their cutting. Cardstock, paper, glitter paper, even the Graphics Point 007 cut well. I would say they were equal on both machines. Once you get into the little bit thicker materials, there is a slight difference on the Fun Foam and the leather. They lost a little bit of detail on the Cameo. But once you get into those thicker materials, the Basel, the thick chipboard, I didn't have any Shrinky Dink, but I have cut Shrinky Dink before, and it's thick. I would put it in that same category. You need that added pressure. Cricut has 350 grams plus of pressure. That's what they advertise. And Cameo advertises 230 to 240 grams of pressure. So, there's 100 grams at minimum less with the Cameo versus the Explorer, and that's why the Explorer is able to cut those thicker materials. So that's an important factor. Do you want to cut all the different materials? If you're going to spend that much for a machine, you want it to do a wide variety of things. You want it to cut everything you need it to cut. So keep that in mind. Again, the Cameo is 230 to 240 grams of pressure, and the Cricut Explorer is 350 plus grams of pressure. So that's a big difference. If you're just cutting the thinner materials, I couldn't choose one over the other, quite frankly. So let's move on. Okay, so we're in Cricut Design Space, and I have an image that I downloaded from the internet, and I just want to make that into a print and cut image. So I thought it would be easier to show you the different steps that you have to go through between Design Space and Silhouette Studio. So in Design Space, we just click Upload Image, Browse, navigate to where you saved the image, and here is a cupcake that I found off the internet. It's a JPEG file. I'm going to say it's a complex image and hit continue. Now I don't want to cut this white background, I just want it to look like a cupcake with a little bit of a shadow, so I'm going to hit select and erase. And then I'm going to click on the white background that I don't want. And look how easy that is. Super, super simple. If we don't want this part here, you could click on that and delete it too, but I think it's kind of cute with the shadow, so I'm going to leave it and hit continue. Here you have the option to tag it so that it's easy to find later. So I'm going to call it cupcake. You could also just save it as a cut image if you wanted to. Click save. Comes in right here in your uploaded image library, and you click insert image. And this cupcake's ready to go. We can resize it. Let's make it a width of, let's say 3 inches. I've been using that pretty much on everything we've been doing today. And we look over in the layers panel, and it's already showing a little printer icon, so that means it's all set as a print and cut. So let's hit go. And that's it. I send this to my Cricut. It's going to read the registration marks just much like it does in the Silhouette, and we'll cut this out. Okay, so here we are in the Silhouette Studio software. I'm going to do the same thing with the same image. I'm going to turn that image into a cut file. So the first thing we would do is go to File, Open, navigate to our desktop where we have that same image saved. And I'm going to move it out here just so we have some room to work with it. And I'm going to resize it. Now, this image includes this outline. So if I set this at 3 inches, it's going to be 3 inches wide from this white edge to this white edge. So it's not going to match exactly with the other one. But we can still make a cut image out of this. So the first thing we need to do is tell the Silhouette that we are going to be printing then cutting this. And in order to do that, we have to go over here and open the registration marks window and turn the registration marks on. This tells the Cameo, hey, I want to print this. And we want to have type 1. Okay. Now we're going to go over to our page settings and say, no, we're not cutting this on 12 by 12. We're going to cut this on an 8.5 by 11. So we want to use our printer as the page setup. So that changes it to an 8.5 by 11. Okay, we're almost there. Now we have to, right now if I sent this to the Silhouette, it's just going to cut a square around this box. We don't want to do that. So in this case, we need to go to the trace window, which is right here. Open the trace window, and you select the trace area. Now we're going to draw a box as close to that cupcake as we can, and still get that little cute little shadow that we had in the other one. And here you have some options. You want to turn off the high pass filter, and then you can mess with the threshold and the low pass filter. What you're trying to do is get this entire cupcake yellow, or at least all the edges that you want cut yellow. And it looks like we've got a pretty good shot right there. So once you trace your image and you get the image yellow like you want it, and there aren't any open spots on the edges, you have the option to either A, trace it and cut out both the inner and outer lines, which means it would cut little circles around each one of these little polka dots. That's not what we want to do. We want to cut around the outer edge. So now Silhouette has made a cut line around this cupcake, and if you can see that really fine line, let me zoom in for you. You can see that really fine red line. That means that's a cut line. So we are good to go to make this a print and cut image. I'm going to select everything, right click, and group it together just to make sure that this doesn't move. And again, this isn't going to be the exact same size because when Silhouette measures this, they are measuring the entire image. And so if I want to resize just the cut lines, well, let me ungroup it. If I want to just resize the cut lines to 3 inches, I'm going to have to manually do this. I mean, I can key it in, but I get this to 3 inches, and then I have to pull the actual printed image out as well. So I'm just going to leave it as it set it up so that it is honestly fair as to how close the edges cut. Okay, so I'm going to send this one to my printer and cut this out. Okay, this one really surprised me. In the past, I have not been able to get good print and cut images from the Silhouette Cameos. However, today I can honestly say these are equally great prints and they're equally great cuts. There are no white edges on either image, so I am very, very happy with this. So let's talk price point. Cricut has 3 machines currently on the market. They have the Explore 1, the Explore Air, and the Explore Air 2. And you can see here, they range from $199 to $299. The fact of the matter is you can do the same thing with all of the machines, with the exception of the Air 2 does offer the fast mode. The other 2 machines do not. The Explore 1 simply just has one head on it, meaning that if you want to use the score tool or pen, you just have to take out the blade and switch it. The Explore Air adds the wireless feature. The Explore 1 is capable of taking the wireless adapter. Silhouette has 3 machines on the market, the Portrait, the Curio, and the Cameo 3. You can see here they range from $179 to $299. However, the Cameo 3 is the only current machine with a 12x12 platform. The Portrait is an 8.5 by 11, and the Curio is even smaller at 8.5 by 6. Also remember, with the Silhouette purchases, if you want to use SVG files, you need to purchase at minimum the software designer edition of the Silhouette Studio, which is, according to their website, $49.99 upgrade. Another thing to keep in mind with the Silhouette family of machines, the Cameo is currently the only one that is Bluetooth capable. And with that in mind, at this current time, today is November 4th, it is Bluetooth capable, but it is not Bluetooth available. The software simply doesn't support it yet, and I'm not sure when that's coming out. I would assume soon, but at this point, none of the Silhouette machines are Bluetooth working machines at this point. And if you're going to pay $299 for a machine, I'm comparing the Air 2 to the Cameo 3. If you're going to pay $299 for a machine, you want a machine that's going to last. You want a machine that's built to last and is sturdy. And I just want to show you a little clip of something I tried on my machine, and I was a little bit surprised because the Cricust Explore is a very, very sturdy machine. The Silhouette Cameo, not so much, and I'm going to show you what I mean. This is the Cameo 3. Look at this lid. This is really thin plastic. I want a machine that's going to be built to last, so I feel a little bit more comfortable, actually a lot more comfortable, with my Cricust Explore. This is all very hard plastic. It's very solid. Everything is built to last. The onboard storage is much more sturdy than this onboard storage of the Silhouette Cameo that pulls out. These are, again, very thin pieces of plastic. I can see these little lips breaking. So the actual construction of the machine, this is just, to me, unacceptable. But the Cricut is about, let's measure it. It's about an inch shorter, and the depth, it's about 2 inches narrower. The Cameo measures about 8 inches from front to back, and the Cricut is measuring about 5.5. So the Cameo is going to take much more of your real estate on your craft table or wherever you keep your machines. So let's sum up what we've talked about today. There's a plethora of things I haven't covered, and there's no way I can get it all into one video. This is already going to be a very long video. But I think, in summary, if you are a person looking to buy a die cutting machine or upgrade your machine or change machines, and you're not real tech savvy, you're not great on the computer, or you're not familiar with graphic softwares, maybe you're a little intimidated to click a mouse, I would suggest you go with Cricut. Cricut Design Space is extremely user-friendly. You can do Make It Now projects, which is literally a one-click to make a project. It's already set up for you. It's already designed for you. You click, you want to make it, hit go, and it sets up all the mats for you, and it cuts it. And it's, I think, for me, I think the software is much more intuitive. It's much more, as I said, user-friendly. You know, it's well labeled. Things are labeled in a way that it makes sense if you're not used to graphic language. It is a cloud-based software, which means you can start a project on your iPad and you can finish it at home. You can save a design. You know, you're sitting in the doctor's office and you can create something on your iPad or your phone. If you have an iOS mobile device, you can design something, and then when you get home, you can pick it up and finish designing, or you can pick it up and cut it, or you don't even have to turn on the computer. You can literally cut it and complete the project without ever touching your computer. And you can do that offline on the iOS apps. So that's a big deal. You do have to be connected to the internet to use Cricut Design Space. But again, you know, you get the benefits of the cloud-based. You have your entire library available to you. Not only do you have the images that you purchase and the cartridges that you have and the projects that you've uploaded, you have the entire Cricut library at your hands to design with. You won't be able to cut the images that you don't own or that you're not a part of the Access program. But you can design with it and see, you know, yeah, I made this project and I like the way this looks, so I'm going to buy it. Or maybe you design it and you think, you know, that's not going to work the way I thought it was. So you don't have to buy it. You can try something else. So that's a plus side. Silhouette does have more advanced designer features. They have things like offsets and shadows and text on a path, which is curved text. It does have a higher learning curve. They're kind of a mini Illustrator. So they use terminology that if you're not familiar with graphic software, like, if you're not familiar with graphic software, you're probably not going to know what it means. Compound paths and text on a path and shapes on a path and things such as that. So they do have some more features. However, if you want those added features with Cricut Design Space, the good news is you get to use any SVGs for free, and you can design those SVGs with more advanced software like Cricut, Inkscape, Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever. So you can still design and create everything that you can in Silhouette Studio and just save it as an SVG and open it up in Design Space and go from there. So you still have the advanced feature option with the Cricut Cricust Explore, even if you can't do it in Design Space. But I do find that I can do most of what I need to do right in Design Space. Silhouette Studio software, I touched on it. You cannot use SVGs in the Silhouette Studio software unless you buy the $49.99 or up. There's some steps above that, but at least $49.99, according to their retail price, upgrade to the Designer Edition. So you won't be using those other outside programs and saving it as an SVG. You will be using the Silhouette software, and the Silhouette software only saves images as a .sil file, so they are only usable in Silhouette. As Cricut files, you do not save as an SVG either. You save them and they are available as a Cricut item. Another thing I wanted to point out is in Cricut Design Space, you can create a project using Cricut images, and it will save it with a URL, which means a web address, you know, where you type up www dot blah, blah, blah when you go to a website. Well, it will give you a URL to your project. So if you have a project and you want your friend to see it, or your friend says, hey, I love that, can I make that? You can just give her that web address, and if you use Cricut images, she can, or he can, just type that web address in and pull up your project, and they can make the exact same thing. They could customize it, they can change it. So that's a fun feature too. That's a plus side of having the web-based software. And again, like I said, I'm going to go more into software in another video because there's just too much to cover. Okay, and the last thing that I want to cover is customer service. I was a longtime user of Silhouette, and I can tell you that there were numerous times I had to call customer support and couldn't reach anybody, didn't get return phone calls, didn't get return emails. Sometimes it took 2 to 3 days to get help when you needed it. Silhouette customer service hours, according to their website, are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Cricut customer service hours are 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 24 hours a day. Monday through Friday, 24 hours a day, plus they are available Saturday and Sunday. They have a chat way to get a hold of them. They have a telephone line that you can call. So Cricut is pretty much available for you every single day of the week, and some days 24 hours a day. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're crafting and you've got a project going on and you've got a deadline to meet, you can't wait 2 or 3 days for an answer, or you can't wait till, if it's Friday night, you can't wait till Monday to get your project done. So you want to keep that in mind. And that, my friends, is the end of this video. I'm sure you can tell I am still a Cricut lover. I am pleasantly surprised by the Cameo 3 compared to my past Cameos. The print and cut's better. The overall cutting is much better than it was. However, they're still not able to cut those thicker materials, and I'm assuming that's due to the change in the price. And so again, Cricut is 350 grams plus of pressure with the Cricust Explore, while Silhouette Cameo is 230 to 240 grams of pressure. So that's a big difference, and that's why the Explorer is able to cut those thicker materials. So thanks for watching. I hope you're still there. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And again, there will be another video coming on the software as soon as I get the time, because there is a lot to cover. So I'll see you soon. Bye.